Well, I titled this one Looking Through Stained Glass, and I'm telling a story. And in this particular story, I discuss one day my pastor had called and he wanted me to come meet him at the local church. And it's a Monday. And so I couldn't understand for the life of it, well, what is it, that pastor want to talk to me about on the Monday? Nothing goes on in church on Mondays.
Right.
So I hurry on down to the church and I enter the sanctuary and I behold my pastor looking through the stained glass. And if any of us grew up in the church, especially the Baptist church, you know about those stained glass windows. So I'm very resigned, I'm being patient, I don't want to interrupt him. He seems as if he's in deep meditation. And after a few moments, I begin to grow impatient. So I want to find out, why am I here? So I began to approach him. And as I began to approach him, he said, son, when I look at the stained glass, I see images of holiness. He said, but son, when I look through it, I see the complete opposite. When I look at the stained glass, I see expressions of unity. But when I look through it, I see the complete opposite. He said, when I look at the stained glass, I see pictures of love being put on display. But when I look through it, I see Detroit. I see the complete opposite. He says, son, I see an accepted way of life that's vicious. I see dark hearts, and this isn't what the sovereign Lord intended when he decided to put us men in this city. And what gets me is that I've been told that it's the man of whom I should be cautious and leery of. But my oppressor is the same color as me. He said, I'm being assaulted by people who are the same color as me. I'm being insulted by people who are the same color as me. And just like the pastor, I too lost a little brother. He died at the hands of someone who was the same color as you. His murderer was the same color as me.
Wow.
He said, I've never witnessed so much hatred. I've never heard of so many senseless killings, and they justify it by saying Detroit isn't for the thin skin. So that explains why our women and children are being raped, and why their bodies are being placed in hot trunks to bake until they're found, and it breaks my whole heart, he said. What I see manifesting in this city causes me to sob, and we've lost it. At some point, we took our esteem and tossed it. At some point, we contracted a social ill that made us all sick. And that illness has spilled in our souls and made us reckless. We saturate the cemetery in immense numbers, and my head just drops. And even with all the non-profit activity, he said, son, they are way past being helped, rehabilitated. This is what he saw when he looked through that stained glass.
Wow.
He said, there's little compassion. There's no concern. And the spirit of love hasn't been able to make its home here amid the lawlessness that's being practiced. There's no empathy, no loyalty, no respect. And I plead with God to renew the minds of this generation, but even he's pissed. And even he sits on his throne, beholding the violence that has grown much, beholding the light being sifted out of us, this life that he has loaned us. He said, son, I hear the blood of the deceased screaming. It's begging. It's pleading. He said, speak to this generation, because if you don't, they'll keep being set aside as sheep who are set aside for the slaughter. We got sons, we got daughters, we got nephews being caught up. We got young women, our nieces, whose fathers leave them because they can't be with. The moms so they peruse these streets with. A low self-esteem that they breed with. Promiscuity. They crave attention. And unfortunately, they're given it by men who don't have a lick of sense. He said, I apologize if it offends. And he said, I can sit and pretend that what I'm seeing hasn't in any way affected the fabric of these impressionable young black kids. But I be lying through where my gap is. We occupy an area where our young men are at risk. They're not taught how to legitimately love a woman, so their affection ends at the girl's mattress. There's no unity in the body of Christ. Denominations have created factions. He said, T.HARRIS, take everything you heard me speak this day and echo it to the masses. I said, well, what if what I say isn't received? What if they take my message and trash it? He said, don't fret their reactions. To those to whom the message is purpose, they'll grasp it. Because I'm tired of what I see, son, when I look through these stained glasses.
Oh, wait, that was...
And this wasn't the pastor talking, these are my words here. And parents, listen to me, more specifically you mothers. An unmanaged son will live by his own rules. Right. An unmanaged son will live by his own rules. He'll become his own government. He'll never acquaint himself with discipline. And though he appears to have thick skin, under it there's a timidness, a weakness, fear, and he'll seek change which might come by way of what we speak, which will alter the behaviors that we see when we look through those stained glasses.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.